Three material qualities that also gets
Yes,
manifested to
perfect.
Vijay.
Three modes begin. Before the times influence, even three modes cannot work. So the influence of the three modes is there, and how the modes interact. These modes interact with Purushottam. How it furthers, what are the transformations? Vikar. बोलो बोलो जो सुना है हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं 10 बार. हाँ.
These modes interacts with nature, bro.
अरे मोड इंटरेक्ट में, ये मोड तो नेचर के ही है ना. मोड किसके साथ इंटरेक्ट करते हैं? With ahankar. These three modes. From the Mahatattva comes the ahankar. And when this ahankar, it interacts with the three modes, then in goodness, there is Jnana Shakti, passion, that is Priya Shakti, and ignorance, there is Dravya Shakti. Okay. So in this way we are proceeding. So we will take this verse 26 to 29. Last time we recited the verse, but did not discuss it. कितना भी प्रयास करो कुछ ज्यादा समझ में नहीं आएगा. क्यों? क्योंकि अभी कॉन्शियसनेस स्पिरिचुअलाइज नहीं है. Because the sky is transformed, the air is generated. This is how these five elements they come into existence. Before this was, see, from the darkness of false ego, the first of the five elements, namely the sky, is generated. Its subtle form is the quality of sound, exactly as the seer is in relationship with the sea. So first, the subtle thing which comes out is the most subtle is the ether. And what is the element? The element is sound. In sky, sound can only travel in the sky. Further, because the sky is transformed, the air is generated. Both. From the sky, there is sound also and air is generated with the quality of touch. In sound, there is no touch. And by the previous succession, the air is also full of sound. And the basic principle of duration of life, sense perception, mental power and bodily strength. When the air is transformed in course of time and nature's course, fire is generated. In fire, what is there? There is sound, there is touch, and what else is there in fire, which is not there in air? But बहुत basic, I am asking very, very preliminary things. Dayashil Prabhu?
Form
Yes.
is there.
Sound, you cannot see the form. Is there any form in the sound? In the air, can you see the form? No. But fire, you can see how it is big, or it is small, or it is mid-size. You can estimate. Air, you cannot estimate. So what manifests is the form. So because the sky is transformed, the air is generated with the quality of touch, and by previous accession, the air is also full of sound and the basic principle of duration of life, sense perception, mental power, and bodily strength. When the air is transformed in course of time in nature's course, fire is generated, taking shape with the sense of touch and sound. Since fire is also transformed, there is manifestation of water, which is full of juice and taste. So another element is added, that is taste. Water has taste. Can anyone taste air or can anyone taste fire? No. As previously, it also has the form of touch and it also full of sound and water being transformed from all variegatedness on earth appears odorous and as previously becomes qualitatively full of juice, touch, sound, and form respectively. So, how the transformation happens, how the manifestation happens? What is the principle? Who will share the principle? How this happens? What is the principle? What comes first? बोलिए. How this material nature is being manifested or it is being created? What is the sequence? I'm just asking the principle, not the full sequence. It is from subtle to gross. Sukshma se sthul ki or, not the other way. Subtle elements, finer elements are manifested, and then the gross elements manifest. See the first point. The whole process of creation is an act of gradual evolution and development from one element to another, reaching up to the variegatedness of earth, as so many trees, plants, mountains, rivers, reptiles, birds, animals, and varieties of human beings. The quality of sense perception is also evolutionary, namely generated from sound, then touch, and from touch to form. Taste and odor are also generated along with the gradual development of sky, air, fire, water, and earth. They are all mutually the cause and effect of one another. But the original cause is the Lord Himself in His plenary portion as Mahavishnu, lying in the causal waters of Mahatattva. As such, Lord Krishna is described in the Brahma Samhita as the cause of all causes. And this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10:8 as follows: Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of all spiritual and material world. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly knows this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Very, very extraordinary translation. So Prabhupada said, the wise who perfectly knows this principle engages in my devotional service with all their hearts. Devotional service is to be performed by heart. The qualities of sense perception are fully represented in the earth, all five. And they are manifested in other elements to a lesser extent. In the sky, there is sound only. Whereas in the air, there is sound and touch. Prabhupada is repeating it. In the fire, there are sound, touch, and shape. And in the water, there is taste also. Along with the other perceptions, namely sound, touch, namely sound, touch, and shape. In the earth, however, they are all above mentioned qualities, with an extra development of odor also. Therefore, on the earth, there is a full display of variegatedness of life, which is originally started with the basic principle of air. Diseases of this body takes place due to dearrangement of air within the earthly body. of the living beings. Mental disease result from special dearrangements of the air within the body, and as such, yogic exercise is especially beneficial to keep the air in order so that the disease of the body can become almost nil by such exercise. When they are properly done, the duration of life also increases, and one can have control over death also by such practices. Very phenomenal. A perfect yogi can, however, command over death and quit the body at the right moment when he is competent to transfer himself to a suitable planet. The Bhakti Yogi, however, surpasses all other yogi because by dint of his devotional service, he is promoted to the region beyond the material sky and is placed in one of the planets in the spiritual sky by the supreme will of the Lord, the controller of everything. Further, वैकारिकान् मनोजने देवा वैकारिका दश दिग्वितर्क प्रचेतोस्वी Vahanendra Upendra Mitraka. From the mode of goodness, the mind is generated and becomes manifest. From the mode of goodness, the mind is generated and becomes manifest, as also the 10 demigods controlling the bodily movement. Such demigods are known as the controller of the directions and controller of the air. The sun god Varun, the Ashwani Kumaras, the fire god, the king of heaven, the worshipable deity in heaven, the chief of the Adityas, and Brahmaji, the Prajapatis, all come into existence. Ten demigods controlling the bodily movements. We cannot even move our finger, nothing we can do because we are under the jurisdiction of the demigods. Where Karika is the neutral stage of creation. And Vaikarika is the neutral stage of creation and Tejas is the initiative of creation. While Tamas is the full display of material creation under the spell of darkness of ignorance. Manufacturers of the necessity of life in factories and workshops excessively punish manufacturers of the necessity of life in factories and workshops, exclusively prominent in the age of Kali or in the age of machine, is the summit stage of the quality of darkness. Such manufacturing enterprises by human society are in the mode of darkness because factually there is no necessity for the commodities manufactured. Human society primarily requires food for subsistence, shelter for sleeping, defense for protection, and commodities for satisfaction of the senses. The senses are the practical signs of life, as will be explained in the next verse. Human civilization is meant for purifying the brain. The senses are the practical signs of life, as will be explained in the next verse. Human civilization is meant for purifying the senses. Very important. Human civilization is meant for purifying the senses. the object of sense satisfaction should be supplied as much as absolutely required, but not for human civilization is meant for purifying the senses, and objects of sense satisfaction should be supplied as much as absolutely required, but not for aggravating artificial sensory need. Food, shelter, defense, and sense gratification are the needs in material existence. Otherwise, otherwise, in its pure, uncontaminated state of original life, the living entity has no such needs. The needs are therefore artificial. And in the pure state of life, there are no such needs. As such, measuring the artificial needs, as such, increasing the artificial need, as is the standard of material civilization, or advancing the economic development of human society, is a sort of engagement in darkness. Without knowledge, by such engagement, human energy is spoiled, because human energy is primarily meant for purifying the senses in order to engage them in satisfying the senses of the Supreme Lord. Very important verse is there. The Supreme Lord, being the supreme processor of the spiritual senses, is the master of the senses. Rishikesha. Rishika means the senses, and Isha means the master. The Lord is not the servant of the senses. On the other words, and in the other word, he is not directed by the direction of the senses. But the combined soul or the individual living entities are servant to these senses. They are conducted by the distress or dictation of human civilization. Should be to cure the devotees of, the standard of human civilization should be to cure the disease of sense gratification. And one can do this simply by becoming an agent for satisfying the spiritual senses of the Lord. The senses are never to be stopped in their engagement, but one should purify them by engaging them in the pure service of sense gratification of the master of the senses. Rishikesha Rishikeno Sevanam Bhakti Rucha. This is the instruction of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna wanted first of all to sanctify his own senses by his decision not to fight with his kinsmen and friend. But Lord Sri Krishna taught him the Bhagavad Gita just to pacify Arjuna's decision for sense gratification. Therefore, Arjuna agreed to satisfy the senses of the Lord, and thus he fought the battle of Kurukshetra as the Lord desired. The Vedas instructs us to get out of the existence of darkness and go forward on the path of light. Tamsoma Jyotirgamaya. The path of light is therefore to satisfy the senses of the Lord. Misguided men or less intelligent men follow the path of self-realization without any attempt to satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord. By following the path shown by Arjuna and other devotees of the Lord, on the contrary, they artificially try to stop the activities of the senses, the yoga system. We're talking about the yogis, the Ashtanga yogis. So what they do, they try to stop artificially the activities of the senses. They deny On the contrary, they artificially try to stop the activities of the senses, the yoga system, or they deny the transcendental senses of the Lord, the Jnana system. The devotees, however, are above the yogis and the Jnanis because pure devotees do not deny the senses of the Lord. They wanted to satisfy the sense of the Lord only because of the darkness of ignorance due to the yogis and Jnanis deny the senses of the Lord and thus artificially try to control the activities of the diseased senses. In the diseased condition of the senses, there is much engagement of the senses in increasing material needs. When one comes to see the disadvantage of aggravating the sense activities, one is called a jnana. When one comes to see the disadvantage of the aggravating the sense activities, it is called jnana. And when one tries to stop the activities of the senses by the principles of yogic principle, he is called a yogi. But when one is fully aware of the transcendental senses of the Lord and tries to satisfy his senses, one is called a devotee of the Lord. The devotee of the Lord do not try to deny the senses of the Lord, nor do they artificially stop the actions. The devotee of the Lord do not try to deny the senses of the Lord, nor do they artificially stop the actions of the senses. But they do voluntarily engage their purified senses in the service of the master of the senses. Rishikesha, Rishikena. As was done by Arjuna, thereby easily attaining the perfection of satisfying the Lord and the ultimate goal of all perfection. Hare Krishna. I'm having a short class. Really very tired. I had gone to Gurgaon. I just came just before the class. Heavy traffic. Gradually, we are proceeding and seeing how this material creation is manifesting. Very complex. Hare Krishna. I won't take question if it is there. I'll try to answer tomorrow. So I will leave. If you want to discuss and continue, you can do that. Up to you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. And Pranab Prabhu, you please call me after the class. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Ganesh Prabhuji, hope the recording was done now. It is showing that I am the host, so maybe somehow, yeah.
आप YouTube लाइव बंद कर दीजिए।
कोई बात नहीं प्रभु जी, मैं क्लोज करूंगा तो सबका मतलब डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाएगा, इसीलिए मैं लास्ट में करूंगा, नो प्रॉब्लम।
नहीं एंड मत करिए, YouTube लाइव
या
वो कर दीजिए। मुझे हो
यूट्यूब लाइव, बट यहाँ से होगा क्या? मेरा यहाँ से तो नहीं होगा ना?
आप ही होस्ट है ना अभी।
ओके, स्टॉप, आई विल डू।